Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. So no E3 this year, but it appears that the companies are just putting out their trailers at this time anyway, and just being like, here, have fun, look at all the cool shit we have coming. And, yesterday we got some cool things about, what the fuck was that thing called? The new Destroy All Humans game. I think it was a remake of the second. I didn't watch the trailer or buy the game, but it got a stealth release. And I think the problem is, where E3 falls. For something like Fallen Order, or Jedi Survivor, which was supposed to be announced at, I would assume that's supposed to be announced at E3, although there is a chance that they were just going to hold it for Star Wars Celebration. And then Star Wars Celebration came and went, and they announced it there. Here, we have, companies that are, working on, their holiday and end-of-year strategy, and E3 is kind of perfectly positioned, and where it is in the schedule kind of fits in with, what are we going to do for the rest of the year? What's our next step? And that kind of thing kind of makes it difficult, because Pokemon at this point has a very formulaic, on top of gameplay mechanic, but release strategy, where we've seen this happen since, I think, let's say, X and Y, where reveal trailer in January, nothing until June, then we get another trailer in June at E3, then nothing, then we also get a release date, which is always going to be right around the week before Thanksgiving, in the United States. Then nothing until, August, September. Then we get another trailer, and then more trailers the closer we get. They kind of load it closer. And what we have here is, the E3 trailer. What would have been the E3 trailer? And I think the most surprising thing, but at the same time it shouldn't be surprising, is the online multiplayer co-op that is making its debut in this game. I'm surprised it took them this long to do it, and because there is this online multiplayer co-op, I have a feeling the wild areas and the mechanics that we've seen in previous games probably won't be back to the degree that people want them to be. As vast an open world as Legends Arceus was, we're probably not going to get that in this, in this game. What the fuck? So looking at, what they're doing here, I think that if we have a vastly different game, that's not going to be... See, this is the problem, is that, I think this is a great platform, really, to talk about, the expectations that come into this game, and all of that. Because I think that, there is this thing where, the media, since it has made its transition to the internet, has been more about first over accuracy. And look, I don't want to get political or anything, but the Hunter Biden laptop issue, there is a reason why other news sources didn't take it up. It's because they haven't been able to validate it. They can't just be like, oh, the New York Post is saying they have one of Hunter Biden's laptops. They need to independently verify before they run the story that is that significant. And it's that kind of thing where it's and if you look at how long it took them to validate said laptop and be like, okay, the laptop is real, it's well, because they did their due diligence. That's what needs to happen. That's what we should expect from our news sources. Now, entertainment is not nearly as important. I mean, one could argue that what the son of at the time vice president does independently of the vice president is not important either. But the entertainment industry is not important, not nearly as important as politics, especially global politics on this scale. It is, when we look at what's going on, like with this, I'm seeing a lot of leaks, quote unquote, for games, and we saw a lot of it with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where it's like characters are going to be in the movie, we're going to be integral to the plot, and we're going to be in it, and it's like, if you look at people who were like, oh well, it wasn't what everyone said it was going to be, and people don't differentiate like a leak, because the thing is, all these sites are just running with them. Like, I would say comicbook.com is probably the least of the, we're just going to run with anything, but they're also owned by Viacom, so that probably has something to do with it. They have some, it's CBS who owns it. So, it does make sense that they're the ones who are least likely to be like, oh, so, we have to, what's it called? We have to, we have to do this, and we have to show that we have to show some semblance of due process, not due process, but some semblance of journalistic integrity when we report, even on bullshit. So they don't report on leaks, they don't report on, things like that. They just, report on things that are corroborated by news sources, or something that has been independently verified by Variety, or Deadline, or The Hollywood Reporter, or one of the Hollywood trades, which, gives you some semblance of credibility there. The issue is, I saw it, I think it was Cinema Blend, or something like that, who said that they could never live up to the hype. And yes, while it is true that fans will hype up something and get something in their head and will believe whatever they want to believe about a game, and they will, and they will do that, that is true. At the same time, all these sources, like Cinema Blend, like Comic Book News, like, Bounding into Comics, like We Got This Covered, like, all of these sources that, talk about these things, also, what the fuck are you doing? I'm in a lane that ends, motherfucker. All of these people, all of these sources report on rumors. And one of the things I don't like to do is report on rumors, because we've gotten burned by that a lot in the past, and I feel like that hurts credibility, and that's something that I care about. Going back and listening to past episodes, I talked about how fucking, Booster Gold was going to show up in the Season 1 finale of Legends of Tomorrow. It's one of those things where it's like, well, no, that didn't happen. And it's like, I read that somewhere. I read somewhere that the character that, I found this in an old show notes that I have somewhere. And I found that, at one point I had said, that the character that, what's-his-name would be playing, Benicio del Toro in The Last Jedi was going to be Boba Fett's son. And it's like, well, not true in the slightest. So, things like that, where it's like, we're not going to, on this show, we don't report on rumors, specious or otherwise, unless it is confirmed by a major trade or the studio itself. But what ends up happening is, when you report on all of these rumors and you report on all of this stuff, and it's all coming from news sites that are about 50-50 when it comes to guessing things correctly and things actually coming true, what ends up happening is you end up with this thing where it's like the things that are coming true will affect your perception of the things that are not. And what'll happen is people will think, well, why didn't they do this too? Because this site's saying, oh, they were going to do this. The site's not going to say, oh, we made it up, it's bullshit. They're going to be like, oh, we covered it, we did it the last second. It's like, when Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, what was it? We said on this show that it would be I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Welling showed up. And this is at San Diego Comic-Con, where they were announcing all of the cameos and stuff for Crisis. They were announcing all of that, and they go, then they announced Tom Welling close to the release, or in the episode, I think, was when we first saw him, and some other site said, report Tom Welling is going to be joining for Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it's like, okay, cool, so you guessed it, like I did. Like, you guessed it like I did. That's really what you did. You said, report, we have an insider who says that we're doing this. And then said site gets called out by Mark Guggenheim, who, for his faults, and I'm not 100% thrilled about a lot of his turns on Arrow, but he did go to the same college I went to. Mark Guggenheim did, he's like, no, that's not true. We didn't know he was going to be in at San Diego Comic-Con. We wanted him to be in, and we didn't seal a deal until about 2 weeks before shooting. So you didn't hear at San Diego Comic-Con that he was definitely going to be in it. Like, we didn't even have a full list. We just had people we'd already reached out to and already gotten it. Like, and that's the thing, is it's like, you didn't actually you guessed it. Which, just say, like, there is an art to guessing and being right. There is something to that. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to say, like, oh, I have an insider, and my insider tells me that, they're going to do this, it should be considered, like, it is lying. Like, you are outright lying. And it is one of those things where it's like, I don't quite understand why people just think that, like, any website, like, with a brain can just get, like, any website that has someone reading it can get insiders. It's not how it works, where it's like, someone goes, oh, I'll give them this. It's, you have to cultivate relationships, and when your website is devoted to shitting all over everything from every studio because it's too woke, odds are people aren't going to go like, hey, and here's some other cool thing we're going to do, because they don't give a fuck. Like, they're not going to turn you, and they know that. But, like, this has devolved a little bit into a rant, but, like, continuing with, like, the Pokemon Company is, when we get as we get closer to release, don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe, every little thing that comes with the with this. Like, I don't know if Koro still is published, and if it is, I don't know if Koro gives new stuff, like gives information the way it used to. I remember back in, in like 2013, 2014, checking on Cerebi and being like, did Koro leak yet? But, like, I don't know if that's the case still. Like, I don't think that necessarily we're going to be in the situation where we're going to be waiting for, like, that's something legitimate. And here's something from an actual news source that is partnering with the Pokemon Company to release it. Like, that's what it's going to be. Like, I've heard rumors of, like, a third type, an item that gives Pokemon a temporary third type. Like, okay, cool, like, but that hasn't been corroborated by any source. And based on what we now see of the Legends, unless they have an alternate form, which is not out of the question, because I think, like, every Legend since... No, because, like, even X and Y didn't have alternate forms for the Legends. Like, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire had Mega Evolutions for Kyogre and Groudon with Primal Reversion. And then there's the alternate versions that have got the most recent ones. Sword and Shield had it. Sun and Moon didn't, though. That's the thing. It's like, they're going to, like, it has a chariot. It's like, I don't really see a chariot there. Like, I don't see that. Like, maybe there is an alternate form, because, see, my thing is that's too specific to, to stake your credibility on. But the thing is, too, it's like, it's not like you get, people who are, it's one thing for the site to be like, by the way, this asshole on Twitter says this is coming, and then it's something else to be like, oh, well, that asshole on Twitter said it's true, so it must be true. It's like, would you listen to anyone else on Twitter who's like, oh, well, this asshole on Twitter says, what's it called? Says this, and it's like, well, what, would you believe that? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. The point of this is, unless it's in a trailer, or unless it's in something officially released, or on the website, or I would say even, use a trusted news source. Games Rant is not a trusted news source. I'm sorry to say, Games Rant is not a trusted news source. IGN is a trusted news source. Kotaku is a trusted news source. Look, if you're someone who aligns with right-wing ideology and you want to talk about, you want to talk about, what are they doing with it, then, you can read their opinion pieces, but unless it is corroborated by, IGN, Kotaku, or, for Pokemon, Cerebi is a big one. Cerebi is probably the biggest Pokemon fan site, and he does have insider information. I would venture a guess. Joe Merrick over there. But, I would, if he is not reporting on it, don't listen to it. It's probably not real. And the thing is, too, it's that's what you should be doing. It's as a reader, it's reading for bias. Forgetting reading for bias, reading for legitimacy is something that we really need to teach a little bit better, I think. Where people don't understand that, when they're reading something, just because it's on the internet in a news article format and formatted like the APA, doesn't automatically make it true or real or entirely accurate or based in anything in reality. It doesn't. It just means that someone has an APA style guide and is like, oh, well, I'll do this now. Let's see if I can make some side income using ad revenue. And there you have it. So I think we'll wrap up there for today. I think that we've covered a lot of ground. But this new game looks pretty interesting. I'm totally, I think that, seeing those new legends, the way the new legends are stylized, that's the point where I'm like, okay, this looks cool. I am on board with this. I think that's the, that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. But beyond that, the new, little guys look kind of generic. It's kind of like someone asked someone to draw Pokemon from memory and you end up with these things. The Pikachu clone looks vaguely like a Pikachu drawn from memory by someone who had played the original in Red and Blue, where Pikachu's kind of chubby. It's one of those things where it's I don't know. I feel like that the designs are a little lacking, but the designs of the legends more than make up for it, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to this game and seeing where they go next with the next reveals. So we'll wrap up there for today with all the information about, just keeping track of things and thinking about, where you are and what you're, what the source is when you read something. And keeping expectations based purely in reality, not based on, well, this leaker said this. Because I think that would alleviate a lot of concerns. So until our next major piece of news breaks, which I'm not going to cover the Pinocchio trailer, I don't give a fuck. But until the next piece of news breaks, have a great rest of your week.